wide world watching us live from the political command center in London and live from Nairobi, Kenya. Thank you very much, our viewers. This show this morning is The Bold Step. In this show, The Bold Step, we look at events that have been bold enough. People who have you made any bold step towards achieving something? Have you done it for your corporate company? Have you done it for you yourself as an individual? Have you done it for the country? How many presidents in Africa have taken bold steps towards eradication of corruption, towards eradication of insecurity, towards eradication of poverty, towards eradication of disease, towards eradication of ignorance? How many countries in Africa can read and write, whose percentage of 99.9% can write fluently? How many of them can have no malaria? How many of them have taken steps to kill a mosquito without help of the West? Are we heading there again? How many promises have been made by the West? How many promises have been done? 66 years of independence, we still have no stadium built by the United States of America. It started giving us promises from 1960, 61, 62, 63, 64, 57, which was Ghana, the first one in Ghana. We have never built anything. We are still behind. Is there a stadium for the United States of America? Is it because they don't play football? And then China comes to build the stadium. They started by saying people's being healthy is very important. People playing football, social contract, looking at the social ability of a nation, every nation. Every part of Africa where you go, you'll find a big stadium. And I believe, Miriam, in Kenya, you pass near one of them or two of them. And one of them was built by Chinese. In Zimbabwe, there are several. Two of them were built by Chinese. Zambia, the same. And Nigeria, the same. In Uganda, the same. Nambole Stadium was built by the Chinese. Tanzania, the same. The Tanzanian Railway. You have symbols. I want to make it a disclaimer that I'm neither a capitalist nor a communist. So when I write my letter or letters to anybody, is to critique, is to point out to everybody. People who will read, my students will ask me questions. Remember, I have about 400 students starting from February 1st. I will be teaching a class of 400 students divided into two on serious political discourse for the world and the world at large. Therefore, they ask me these questions. I will make references. I will bring out comparative politics. Where have we succeeded and not succeeded? You go to Egypt, you find a very big, several stadia for Chinese, built by Chinese money. Libya, Chinese money. Tunisia, Chinese stadium. Morocco talks about football, but who built those stadiums? You can see it played. And then people say, why is it that northern part of Africa teams play very well? The Chinese built them stadiums. There are very many stadiums in Egypt, actually. For example, Egypt has plenty of it. In Khartoum, there is a Chinese stadium. Why did China start building a stadium? Because it saw the social contract cannot be there when people are not healthy. You have to go to the stadium to play, you have to practice, you have to run around. So it felt you have to address people. The stadium works as a multi-faced agency. of so many things, that activities that can take place. Good morning, Africa. That is the show we are coming to. We shall look at topical issues, one bold step taken forward, which has remained historical. Which one of that? We shall also look at the current situation of our leaders, all African, most of the African leaders, about 18 of them are in New York, in Washington. 18 or 15 or 16, I don't know. I saw the 18, but it came down to a figure 16. The barricaded hotels where demonstrations have made the presidents go through the back doors of emergency to the summit. What does it give you an impression as an African? The bold step returns when Miriam does her morning cleanup, house cleanup, or house cleaning process of telling us the news, the headlines. If this headline tickles you, say something about it. And wherever you are across the continents, feel free, join us. Join us and engage. There is a blue number there where you can join this platform. It's for people, it's for the community. Join us and discuss what problem your country is facing at the moment. Is there any bold step that your country has taken so far that has made it free and fair? The only time that Uganda took a bold step was during Idi Amin. Miriam, we come after your, and then we see one bold step. Is there one bold step that Africans have taken? United. We shall answer those questions. I land the mic back to you.
Okay, and I'll just get into the headlines this morning. The Daily Nation from Kenya, Ruto's kitchen cabinet. President William Ruto has crafted a tightly knit team of trusted allies consisting of security chiefs, financial and economic experts, information technology gurus, and business moguls in a bid to help shape his legacy. And the list of confidants is a mix of the new and the old. You find that on page 4 and 5 on the Daily Nation. Rally driver in ICU after brawl with lover. That is on page 8. And MCA's impeach Mwangaza after only 112 days in office. EACC to recover 33 billion Kenya shillings assets acquired corruptly. That is on page 10. And TSC jobs rules out as Mashogu speaks on pay. The Star newspaper report proposes radical changes to reform IEBC. Poll observers say appointment of commissioners should be broad merit-based. That is on page 4 and 5. First daughter's publicity gets mixed public views. That you find on page 2. Didmas revives push to have pension paid within 90 days. You find that on page 8. And cop dies 10 hurt as driver avoids hitting camels. That is on page 3. The Standard newspaper Masit, I will drop a bombshell on polls exactly 5 days to the start of the Muchelule Tribunal sittings. Commissioner Irene Masit has declared she will spill the beans on the conduct of elections and the aftermath. That story is on page 8. Be realistic, CS tells union as teachers demand 100 billion Kenya shillings. That is on page 6, and Facebook faces 300 billion Kenya shilling suit for posts. That story is on page 3. And then we look at some regional newspapers. A Daily Monitor from Uganda. Divided NRM backs Museveni for 2026. That is a bold step right there. And the New Vision also from Uganda. Parish money payout starts. And the Guardian from Nigeria. 80 billion naira's debts weaken. Digital channels as new Naira notes arrive. And then the Nation also from Nigeria, hiccups in PVC distribution. The Daily News from Zimbabwe, we are done with reforms. Ziambi as opposition pushes for more ahead of the 2023 polls. The Newsday also from Zimbabwe, mass teacher exodus looms. The Herald also still from Zimbabwe, $130 US, a lithium mine sets Zimbabwe on growth path. And the Citizen from Tanzania, government now changes attack on borrowing. And the New Times from that is from Rwanda, over 1,300 households to make way for the new Kigali roads. And then the Sowetan from South Africa, the die is cast. That is on President Ramaphosa's. Observers reckon second term almost guaranteed for Ramaphosa, but rival Mukize's supporters upbeat. Daily news from Egypt, U.S.-Africa summit gives impetus to U.S. relations with African countries, Egypt's presidential spokesperson. And that is what we have on some of the regional newspapers from across the continent of Africa. Doc, back to you.
Miriam, thank you very much. Let me look at British newspapers that, in summary, I don't know whether you are there, you're still there. British newspapers in summary. Well, the Daily Telegraph says damage of nurses strike will get worse. The nurses have gone on strike in the United Kingdom, and it is beginning to bite most of the people, most of the patients, those in hospitals. Miriam, I gave you advice that if you are looking for your holiday and you want to see snow, because there are people who pay to go and see snow. I've found very many of them on the, at times you think whether we have to think or what. I found very many people from Africa in a full plane saying, oh, I'm taking my children for holiday. Then I asked them, in this snow? Then they said, yes, that I'm taking them for holiday. So, Miriam, is it seeing the snow or not? If it is seeing the snow, then my dear, that type of snow is there right now. It is white. It is impossible. Cars are stuck on the road. People left cars on the road and had to walk. You see, it is not only your place which has a problem. You leave the car until they expect. Some of the roads were not, some councils were not ready. They were not ready for the putting on the sand, that salt that eats the snow, so that a car can pass. But if you are driving and then you skid into one of the places where there's snow and the car goes that way, my dear, count it, carry enough food, carry everything when you are going out. And the good thing here is that they tell you that carry it. So it's a bold step forward. Carry the food, don't go out without proper clothing. The weatherman is telling us, for us here, no weatherman honest comes out. Have you ever seen? Excuse me, how many of the television stations broadcast meteorological reports like Kasavuli? Kasavuli used to tell us in details the rainfall degrees will be 10 centimeters, 5 centimeters. Don't come out without a sweater. I used to grow up seeing Kasavuli from this KBC. Not grow up, I was grown up along with her. Could see. Yes, but these days they just say the weather in Brussels, 22 degrees. The weather in Kenya, 14. The weather in this. Nobody tells you more details. So you don't know, ordinary person, whether you go out with a jacket or not. Miriam, those are the good days that we have missed, and they might not come back. Yes. The Guardian said scathing report condemns police for victim blaming in rape cases. The rape cases everywhere in the world are not well, are not well investigated. Rape cases are difficult to prove. At times, unless there is a DNA that has been done immediately after the rape has taken place. The nurses another headline on the same paper, and the NHS nurses to strike today for the first time. Oh my God, we have a problem there. 4 killed and dozens rescued in the channel. The channel was full yesterday, and this is something that has happened. Rajiv say, and then I've given us a story. Okay, the Sun newspaper, 5,000 tickets to death. What? 4 die in freezing channel. People paid to go in the tunnel, and they are in the channel.
The English channel, those who are coming from France to Britain.
To cross into United Kingdom from Calais, which is France. So there you are. People are still crossing, and that's the deepest end of the sea of Atlantic Sea. Atlantic Sea is deep there, but people, Miriam, we have no alternative. But there we are. People are still crossing, and most of this, when you look at their faces, are from Syria. Then when you look at the story of Syria, how was Syria before? Were there refugees coming to yes, there were very few refugees, 2, 10, 5 refugees from Syria. But we went and disturbed Syria. We said it had weapons of mass destruction. Now where are we? Double standards. The bold step. What? We have a lot to talk. It comes every day. Everything you touch on, where America and France is involved, you have a bold step. Syria was a very organized state. Yes, it sponsors terrorism, yes. But why don't we take out the man who sponsors terrorism? Why? Why don't we take out somebody? Why are we having now refugees coming, most of them coming through the channel, coming to British main island, because we went to disrupt Syria, the peace in Syria where Assad had controlled its people. We went to Libya and bombed it down. We have now a skeleton of Libya. A bold step must be said. Enough is enough. As African leaders caught controversy of loans, grants, whatever, it's rubbish. There's nothing there. There's nothing you are going to get there. You come and bomb a country. You build money with a country. You put sanctions on a country. You kill the people through sanctions. What the hell? Where are we heading, Ishmael? Now here we have refugees coming all the way, paying £5,000 to reach the British mainland. And the only thing the Prime Minister of Britain, the former Prime Minister of Britain, David Cameron, said was, I'm sorry, I was misled on the question of Libya. I'm sorry, I was misled and given a doctored fake evidence on the question of Iraq. I'm sorry, our evidence was doctored. Is it a bold step? Is it a bold step? Why don't you take a bold step and take yourself to court and are sentenced? You'll be sentenced for having killed so many of those people, for having been sorry. And then you are sorry, you killed them on falsehood. And now we have refugees paying £5,000 to cross from Calais in France, because France is a shell, an empty shell, zero. There's nothing there. That's why they can steal black players, give their mothers passports quickly. If they see a boy doing good football, a passport lands. Woo! Did you know how passports are given in France? That's the way. At least Britain doesn't give passports that way. Britain doesn't buy people to come. France buys people to come and settle there. and the segregates said this one is a good footballer. And today they are playing going to take on Argentina on Sunday. People are saying, I support France, I support France. I support France because it has got 15 black people.
So, Doc, what team are you supporting yesterday between France and Morocco?
None. 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 And I'm telling you in the name of God, the team that I'm supporting right now is Argentina. Let them take the cup. I don't want to see France gaining anything because France has denied us in Africa. It has denied us the peace, the will to be peaceful. Hello?
But
France has dismembered our states. France with Total Oil has taken over our... No, wait. The France with Total Oil has taken over our African Union. We no longer have a voice in African Union. Total Oil Dollar has paid Kagame to go to Mozambique to kill people who were settled there. Where?
Yeah, and the Rwandan forces are helping France protect its resources, the Total
yes!
Oil in Mozambique.
But
Doc, France is doing that.
No, let's start quickly.
Yes.
The bold step. Tell it as it is.
As it is.
When Chisano settled the Hutus, where did the Hutus that left Rwanda go? Acha tuulizane. No. Mr. Chisano, you are still alive. Talk to me. What did you tell me on the plane? Where? Let's talk the truth, Jamen. Who was in Cape Delgado? Who? We are here. You people be careful. Someone says the bloodshed in Congo is not his problem. Is it? Have you seen the statement? Bold statement. Let's also give him bold statements. Very soon we are going to begin giving him bold statements. Yes. We go to, Total Oil took over 7 years. AU is impotent. Before Dlamini Zuma, when Dlamini Zuma was there, AU was productive. It used to deliver children. Now it is impotent. The chairman there, chairperson, is more or less an employee of DSGE of France. Wacha tuambiane ukweli Africa. Where? If we don't speak, Mugabe is gone. Who is going to speak for you, Miriam? Mugabe alienda. Wewe unakumbuka Mugabe, oh, I used to have Mugabe. These ones who are here, none of them can speak. Nobody can stand up in the US in that meeting and tell Mr. Joe Biden a bold step. Why did you shoot down Libya? And who is taking the oil in Libya? The bold step. If you want facts, come always here. Punchline Africa TV, here on earth, on soil, in heaven, in hell. We shall be talking the same language. Bold step. Refugees are paying $5,000 to cross over from Paris, from France to United Kingdom. But it is France that went to Syria and started a war saying that Assad had nuclear weapons. Where are they? Isn't it a bold question? Can we ask, Miriam? We are just journalists. We are asking bold questions. The French, can you show us? These people should actually be given asylum in France because France went to tackle their country, they should not come to disturb British people. Yes, they should go to Sarkozy's home and a farm and stay in Sarkozy's farm if he has a farm in Paris or in France, because Sarkozy went and killed, ordered for the slaughter of people of Syria and Libya. We have refugees now coming to disturb an innocent country that came in later on and differed on the war in Syria. What have we gained? Did we win the war? No. It ended a draw. It is a draw. Now we have been fighting Ukraine. Do you hear about it anymore? It is going down slowly because both two powers on the Central Committee of the veto, with a veto, none of them can attack each other. Ukraine is asking for $800 million euros for winter. What about Matanga and Kenya and Uganda? We are asking for little money for our cattle not to die. Give us something without strings attached. Ours comes with strings attached. Ukraine is given free. Are you equal? I seem to have finished the papers. And Miriam allow us introduce the subject. And we go on it. We have already touched it. We are already in it. The bold step. Who was occupying Cape Delgado? Perhaps Miriam, you're a researcher who was who occupied Cape Delgado. Why are we not talking about it? Those rebels disappeared in Indian Ocean. Uganda said it will take troops. It never took troops. It withdrew. After learning that Rwanda was there already, Uganda ran fast away and said, we don't want to get involved. Zimbabwe ran fast. Now, Total Oil comes, or the European Union comes to pay an African president a present of 20 million euros. And I said, here you are. You did a very great job. So how many of these 20 million euros goes to the people of Rwanda? Bold step. Have you seen how I am just doing initial lessons of bold step. Don't fear. Ask questions. Even if they hate you, but the questions will come, Miriam. Where are we? Where are we? Start us off, madam. Thank you.
You've already started us off. We just continue. Perhaps we bring in Wanda.
I can't hear you.
I'm saying we've already started. I think
Miriam?
Yes.
I cannot hear you.
I think it's on your side.
I can't hear you at all.
Wanda Wesonga, can you hear me?
Yeah, loud and clear. I think the problem is from Dr. Masanga's end, because I can clearly hear you. So I don't know if Dr. Masanga can hear me.
I am now hearing you.
Okay.
Miriam, what were you saying first?
I'm saying we've already started, so maybe we just bring in Wanda Wesonga also now to just continue with the conversation.
I think first of all, Miriam, guide Wanda on the topics that we have. We shall look at we can't speak randomly.
Well,
We shall look at topic number 1, corruption.
yeah.
The corruption. And the topic number 2, we shall look at the current. As a result of what I've talked, we can come up that way. Then we go on. You are right. Let's go. But the corruption of Singapore, and then we shall touch on the USA relationship. The letters, one letter that I've just written, it is circulating, and it will be there in the White House within the next, by the time they wake up. Mr. Karanja, thank you very much for delivering that today to the Haitian spokesperson of President Joe Biden this morning. You will deliver it there, and it will be discussed. I am open. Do we get these loans with value? What are our values on the loans? Don't come again when you are signing. You see, we already have a problem in Kenya when loans were got. People didn't know how they were got. So today, are we looking, scrutinizing what we are signing for? That is what we are talking about. So, Mr. Wanda, take it away, as Miriam has already cued you in. Alphonse.
Just a minute. Can Miriam kindly take on as I...
Okay.
Just for a minute, kindly.
All right. Good. All right, so maybe we start with a video from Singapore and their fight against corruption, and maybe we could tie into the question, Doc, that you just posed. These monies that we get from outside and we bring them here, and much of it go to corruption, not here, but in the continent and other countries. So perhaps you just listen in, and then we can have a conversation after that.
That if you want to, in a sense, eliminate corruption in a society, and we all want to eliminate corruption in a society, the most effective way to do it is to make sure you don't punish people at the bottom, you punish people at the top. I'll tell you one story. In the 1960s, when Singapore was a very poor country then, our per capita income was 500. A government minister was invited by a businessman to go on holiday. Just on holiday, no bride. He and his family went on holiday with a businessman. He came back, he was arrested, charged, went to jail. After that, no more corruption. Because it's very powerful signal that is sent when you go after someone at the top. So Singapore's experience, and it's actually quite remarkable how you have almost zero corruption in Singapore, is because we decided that the example must come from the top.
Right, thank you so much. And of course, Singapore has been a model country when it comes to the fight against corruption, and as that official is clearly saying there, where the country was in the 1960s, and all of a sudden, it's one of the powerhouses that we have across the world, and that is because of the bold stand the country has taken against the fight against corruption in the country. So they're saying you don't punish these small people we see, like here in Kenya, you see the small peoples who have stolen perhaps the chicken, who have done this, the crimes that perhaps they could just go and serve some community service. But those are the people you find that the law is very harsh on. But the people who are considered to be on the top tier, maybe instigated, maybe started, and it cuts across the continent of Africa. You find that those are the people who get away scot-free. But what this person is saying, the reason why Singapore has succeeded in its war against corruption is because the buck stops or starts from up there going down, and they set example from up there, sending a powerful signal in its tolerance against corruption. Doc, very interesting.
Very interesting indeed, Miriam. It is interesting in the sense that we are borrowing money. And in short, the summary of what we are doing right now in the summit, we have loans or grants that will come that don't respect African values. 2, the same thing, nothing different. 3, the AU must develop teeth to protect Africa. It is not there. 4, Africa needs internal solutions. They have the money and the brains, yet they keep on going to beg. 5, 55 billion is very little over 3 years for 55 countries. I bet, I think, you know what? I don't know whether they are advisors of, what do we really have here? 55 billion for 55 countries over 3 years. How much does each country take? Then the loans are tied to loyalty. If you disagree with America, they come and say, pay it, or you'll be put on embargo, blacklisted, never to trouble, slapped with sanctions. So for me, unfortunately, all this is known to all these African heads of state, but they don't want the solutions because the solutions brings little personal value and a political survival. Am I correct?
I don't know if it's on this platform, Doc, that we said, or I don't know where I had that our leaders carry themselves all the way to Washington to meet one person, when it could have been easier for them to assemble at the African Union headquarters in Ethiopia and for that one person to come here and address them from our prestigious headquarters of the African Union in Addis Ababa. So, yeah.
Yeah, but the board, from the board state point of view, look at it. The African Union itself is in the forefront fighting to be a member of G20, a permanent member, so that our chairperson always flies there to sit among the G20. Yet, we should actually make institutions on the African continent stronger, such that we can go there, also have our equivalent of G55. Why don't we have our G55 headquartered somewhere in Nairobi, headquartered somewhere in Egypt, where African heads of state can pump in money and say, every African head of state and the government must bring in $10 million. $10 million in a kitty. You can't be preaching chama business. Then at the top, at the lower, at the government level. But then at the top level, Africa is not preaching chama. If every African government gave $5 million, I'm telling you, $5 million as a standby bank money on the account, medium 55 of these countries, that will make about 300 million on standby. So you can plug in 50 million, 5 million, and give country X to conduct its elections without it going to beg for money from European Union to conduct elections. Do you see my logic? So if we had that money on standby, you could be able to say which country needs dams this year. You could say there's a lot of hunger that is killing Somalia. We need 10 billion or 15 million dollars or 20 million dollars to build small dams that create or dig boreholes that will give the people of northeastern, of the Horn of Africa, water. And you look at every year, if you say, every year you are paying that money, and every year you go to the African Union to look at the budget and say, how much did we spend this year and how much did it remain? You can sponsor schools. You can sponsor your football without anybody coming in to sponsor your AFCON. We are not doing that. The budget, if you look at the AU budget, Miriam, I don't know whether you have had a chance. It all anticipates for donor. There is a donor language. Donation from European Union, donation from Israel, donation from Britain, donation from Germany. So how can you have powers?
And that is what I saw a statement by Ghana's President Nana Akufo-Addo, who also was saying Africa must stop borrowing. But he's saying this, and yet Ghana right now, I think, is in the process of getting some X amount of money from IMF because the economy is not doing very well. But he was just encouraging the African leadership to stop the borrowing mentality and to encourage Africans to be self-reliant. So it is something that we should start thinking about very seriously in this continent, I believe.
Thank you very much, Miriam. Wanda, are you ready to bring in your voice before you are...
Yeah.
Miriam, when we are discussing some of these things, my dear sister, I think let's just enjoy it. Because we tell these people the truth all the time, but Miriam, nobody wants to listen. Nobody can go back, no government official can go back and open a clip of Miriam Ogutu to say she said this. She said, because that government official fears that Miriam, once the boss sees Miriam making a point, Miriam will take the job. So we lose it. Yes, Wanda.
Thank you so much. Like indeed, as you're putting it, the bold step. The Africans only need this bold leadership, the bold Africans that are very courageous enough to avoid this behavior of feeling like we are a begging continent and we cannot stand on our own. Because when you look at Africa, then you look at the leaders that have dared to be bold enough. Although most of our leaders that will be bold enough, the Western world at times tend to target them. We had a person like Gabriel Mugabe. We have had one. We had one Magufuli down here. We had persons like Gaddafi. At least we had a few bold leaders that could take bold steps. Because the major challenge that you tend to have, like Miriam was putting it, like why did we or our leaders decided to go to USA instead of asking that one person to come to Africa, to Africa? Then as Dr. Masanga you put it, why have our leaders never thought of having this bold decision and established one place such that when they are summoned to attend such meeting, they can boldly confirm and tell the person, no, we are the majority, you're just one, you're the one who is coming to us. Therefore, Africa is in a position to do quite a lot, but our leaders are not bold enough. Our leaders are not courageous enough to front the desires of our continent as a people, but at times, because of lack of being strong enough, they struggle addressing fronting individual priorities, which in this case is a problem that we're facing as a continent. But it's very important that the leadership of Africa, get bold and start addressing issues as they are. They should be able to get on the ground and solve and sort the challenges that you're facing as a people. Thank you.
Okay, let me just...
Wanda, Miriam, sorry, you were going to ask.
No, just a short... something I've made reference to of what Ghana's President Nana Akufo-Addo said. He urged African countries to stop begging from the West in order to earn global respect and change poor perception about the continent. Mr. Akufo-Addo urged greater solidarity among Africans to address shared aspirations. But he's present in that meeting, and much of it has to do with what Africa stands to gain from the US. I wouldn't mind if the conversation was about how can we trade fairly? How can you address the imbalance in our trade between the African continent and the US? How can we increase our partnership in areas that we seem to come together Of course, we're not equals, but as states who can speak on things that are mutually beneficial, and we're coming together on the table to make sure Africa is gaining from this relationship, but also the US is gaining from this relationship by the end of the day, and not go there with this mentality that our leaders went with and what they stand to gain from this visit from the US. So President Nana Akufo-Addo of Ghana is saying that Africans should stop begging from the West in order to earn global respect and change poor perceptions about the continent. And I totally agree with him on this statement. But he's saying this, and he is in the US, I believe.
Yes.
Begging is part of the reason they're there, isn't it?
That, you know, someone has said a very bad comment here, which I can't read. He's a professor of constitutional law somewhere in the University of Africa who is watching us. He said, unfortunately, African leaders stand for nothing and therefore fall for anything.
And that is not a bad statement. That is the fact of the matter.
No, the professor is from the Khartoum, from the University of Khartoum.
Yes.
For example, is complaining that when America singled out 5 countries and said don't come to our shore, that is the time when Africa could have stood up and said we are not coming.
But these 5 countries have also been singled out of the African Union because of the coups that happened. So there could be some substantial reason.
The whole concept goes back to African Union, which is wrong. Which is wrong. The African Union, the doctrine of democracy, which is very unique. And this is why we need to revamp African Union. How many countries in Africa know the difference between the democracy and the elections? How many? Show me, media. Even in Kenya, you don't know the difference between the democracy and the elections. Do you?
Well, ours is dynamic. We're working on it. But Doc,
No, wait.
What you're saying is very important, okay. And I want to make sure I understand what you're saying, Dr. Harry. Because if these 5 countries, of course, Guinea, Burkina Faso, Mali, and Sudan, because of the coups that have happened, and also Eritrea, US always refers to Eritrea as a pariah state. They don't have any diplomatic relations. And the issues had to do with democracy. But the US have the audacity to invite somebody like the president of Equatorial Guinea, we can't even speak about that democracy. So if that is what you're looking at, then you're still not making sense. They're still, they're still not making sense at all.
Maybe Mr. Wanda can explain it here, but me, I will explain it like this. Maybe I agree with you. You block the president of Mali, but you allow Paul Biya, who has been killing and slaughtering people for 42 years. And he wants even the 8th term of office. You allow Equatorial Guinea in Nguema. He is in there. He has been allowed to come. So in Africa, that's why I'm saying the African Union, the bold step that African Union can take is to revamp the charter that talks about democracy. What is democracy in terms of assessment of democratic norms? Is it elections? How many elections do you have in several countries in Africa, yet they are not democratic? How many? At least in Kenya, you are democratic. You have elected a president and you have moved on. You have another one has taken place. You support him, although there are a few mamas here. That's okay. That is very good. So you are nurturing democracy. But how many? Look, tell me a president who has been there for 42 years. A president who has been there for 42 years.
And they all have a bad record. A bad record of human rights abuses.
The African Union calls this president democratic. And then you block a military man who might have served the people by coming to take power. in Mali when the AU itself cannot finish the insurgency in Mali. Now, let me tell you where the danger is. The bold step is this. If you don't give Mali the same support you are giving Nigeria,
Or they're giving, is it Chad?
or Chad, you have allowed Chad to go,
Look
but
at
you are
that.
now,
Look at that dog. They've allowed Chad to go there.
yes, Chad to go. So what Mali will do is also to train rebels to destabilize Chad. Have you seen that? Yeah. If you allow Chad to go and then you refuse Mali, and then you refuse Sudan, what Sudan will do is to get rebels, those who are not happy with Chad government, just train them, they go and kill the president across. That's what they have done. They did it to Idris. And there was no condemnation. Did the AU come up? Did this man of AU himself was part of the strategy that killed people, that killed the former president? So the late president died, no condemnation, no banning, no. We are even enjoying peace. Actually, we have allowed the boy in Jamena
Extended his
to
term
even
illegally.
attend our meetings.
Illegally against the constitution, but he's allowed to be there. But Mali will not be allowed because of change of leadership and in an unconstitutional way. But Chad will be allowed, and they still have the head of state there is there unconstitutionally. The Speaker of Parliament was supposed to take over after President Idris Deby died, according to their own constitution. But no.
They even threatened to lock him up.
I can't.
They threatened
The
to lock
double
him up.
standard.
They threatened to lock him up. They threatened to lock him up. Look at Miriam. And America is telling us it has invited.
And our leaders are there.
But it doesn't want the 5. But Chad, Nguema,
Paul
Biya is there seated.
Paul Kagame is there.
Yes, 99.9% vote.
The US itself has been accusing Paul Kagame of being involved with M23. They say they have substantial proof of that, but they still don't have a problem inviting him there.
Now, Paul Kagame, you see, this morning has said, and is talking this from United States itself, that the bloodshed in Congo, what did he say?
He said that he shrugged off a soaring death toll in the Democratic Republic of Congo's east, distancing his nation from mounting bloodshed on Rwanda's doorstep, and he's quoted as saying the problem was not created by Rwanda. It is not a Rwanda's problem. It is a Congo problem. And then there's something he said that really caught my attention. He said, I cannot be responsible for Congolese of Rwandan descent in Congo who are being denied their rights as citizens. That's what he said. So that is where the problem is.
In fact, today you have read the English like him. It is not the problem of Rwanda. That's what he said. That's how he talks. So, I don't know. I don't know.
Wanda.
I really don't know. I really don't know. You know what? These are double standards. But the problem is, as this professor from the University of Khartoum.
Can you read again, Doctor, the first message he sent? Because it ties to everything we're talking about. Our leaders don't have the moral authority. They can't even stand in their own feet.
Miriam, you are going to bring me chaos. If I read this over and over, it is a dangerous statement. He says, Dr. David Matanga in London, I see you there struggling to say the truth, but say it now. Unfortunately, African, then he goes on, he said, I've read your letter which is very impressive. And I hope these leaders read it and read it upside and down again and again. But unfortunately, African leaders stand for nothing and therefore fall for anything.
And where is the lie?
I don't know. I am avoiding to read it because, you know, some of them might not take it lightly.
But where is the lie?
There is no lie.
Mm-hmm.
They are there now. Because, look, they are there now. Do you know what they are doing there? You know what they are doing there?
They went
They are
with
borrowing
a
money.
big bowl,
They are
begging
accepting.
bowl.
They are signing documents for the money. But they haven't asked, what conditions have you put on this money? That's the point of my letter. For example, if you are asking for money to come and grow cassava, ask the person giving you the money, will you take some raw cassava when it is grown and pay back your loan through the raw cassava that I will export it to you? Or you want the real hard cash? Or what value you want to change me from raw cassava and mix it with potato to grow another GMO food?
And force us to get the GMO in our
Yes,
countries.
we are not asking that.
They will force us to have it, but they can't have it themselves.
And you know, when we grew up, most of us, Miriam, there were no diseases of this nature. Some of us were very peaceful guys, sleeping very nicely, eating nicely, very slender. We had no diseases of this nature. But I'm beginning to wonder that the type of food that I started eating in the United Kingdom from 1994, Miriam, when I left Africa, I was the slender, handsome boy that everybody could look at me and say, this boy, this tall guy with hair, which is very unkempt hair, very nice. You know, I've got that military type of tactics. I had refused to cut hair because my father had died. And in our customs, Miriam, you only cut the hair on the third day. If you pass the third day, Wanda will tell you they will not cut your hair again until they do a ceremony. So I'd refused. My hair was well kept. When I went there, I bought shampoo and I could wash it and look well. But then I started hammering this food there, started eating food, eating nicely. Although at that time there was little matoke that was creeping in by people, friends coming in London. My body from nowhere, it went, even I was doing very well. I was going down for football with Bob Colimo, the late. We used to meet in a pub down there and play football, kabisa. When he was working with British Telecom and near my house where the mother is still living there. Now, the body all of a sudden came out. A bold step was taken and the body came big. I could not control it. Then all of a sudden, when we went to Britain, there were nothing like a gyms. There was no gym. There was nothing like a gym, Miriam. This gym started when? When did the gym start in Kenya? It is in the 2000 what, 8? When people started going to gym. Men carrying bags like ladies, you know. Every morning you get out of your car with a bag and another handbag and a briefcase. I will go to the gym. This gym issue came in 2000. There was no gym in 90s. It wasn't there. The only people who could go to gym in the 90s were boxers, boxing, and the footballers. But a normal person in Britain had no time to go to a gym. Then hotels that started building with a gym. Things changed. Like the typewriter went off, laptop arrived, fax went down, now email came. So gyms have come. Someone has modified life. But the essence of our question is this. When you sign these documents, do you sign with the people back at home in mind? Because you might bring a loan here, a grant, and then later on the Americans come to say, no, we gave you the grant, and the people coming to see the grant want to see condition A, B, C, D, and you have not fulfilled it. When they have just given you the initial grant, to meet the second payment will not come. You have to fill, when you are given a grant, Miriam, you have to fill the papers and say what you used it for, how many people you changed their lives. I've filled before this NGO money. It's terrible. It's terrible. The questions there are very interesting. So these are some of the challenges that our African countries are facing. Is it worth it? What has happened? Why Africa has allowed itself to stoop low and be used as a proxy ground of a proxy war? A bold statement came out from the Minister of Defense of United States. He said, I think you have it there, Miriam, you can read it. If you don't have the statement, he said in summary that China and Russia are destabilizing Africa. They are creating conflict in Africa. Do you agree with his statement, Wanda?
Not at all.
You see, he was very bold and said China and Russia. So any African leader seated in the table there when you are being addressed. And I had forgotten to tell you the story. The Ethiopian Prime Minister got a shocker. Have you heard the story of the Ethiopian Prime Minister? Betty Mirungi and Besuda had already recommended to the International Criminal Court to take Mr. Dr. Abiy Ahmed to the ICC for trial for human rights. And as you know, Ethiopia is not under the United Nations. It are not under the ICC, it's not a member of the International Criminal Court. So the United States of America Secretary and Attorney General for Africa, Assistant Secretary for Africa and Attorney General gave a shocker to Prime Minister Abiy. I have a friend, the friend called me this morning. He said, we got a shock. This woman from Kenya and the Besuda, now, you know, he's calling me because he knows I was one of those who tackled the ICC. He's saying, my friend, we are soon calling you to Ethiopia. Our president, our prime minister is being taken with the leader of Eritrea. They are going to court. These people have recommended to the United Nations Security Council. The Americans told him. The guy couldn't believe it. I've sent you the photograph there. I don't know whether Stephen can bring it on surface. It is very sad. What is it? So on this one, Besuda and Betty Murungi, they have done a great job. Betty Mirungi Orengo, they have done a really great job on the Tigray-Ethiopian conflict. They have recommended. So Dr. Ahmed Abiy will be the first Nobel Prize laureate to stand.
I think he should give that back. He can't still be having that because he brought peace, and now the same person he's purported to have brought peace with is the same person that was aiding the government in committing these atrocities. And the TPLF are also wrong. It's not because they are also committed atrocities. And Doc, perhaps it's not what we were looking at, but I'm glad you brought up the subject. Every time I look at the Ethiopian story, and I'm happy with the mediation process so far, I think it's going on well, and it's wonderful, but there has to be some accountability. There has to be some level of accountability. We cannot let what happened go be swept under the floor, under the rag. There has to be some level of accountability so that there should be some healing and reconciliation. The truth is, a genocide happened in Ethiopia. Why can't we just call that for what it is? That is the truth of the matter. And Isaiah Sefaki must be held accountable also for his part in that conflict.
Yes. Yes. And that is what he was confronted with. And there is no way Karim Khan can spend the ICC money and then rub it under the rugs. Some people were trying to say we shall help here. What can you help? You can't help anywhere. No, you can't help anywhere. Get the lawyers. Mr. Dr. Abe, engage Matanga early enough to make noise. Otherwise, it is very bad news. So can you stay on in America to sign any paper? When you have been given a shocker that as you are here, the papers are being processed and the resolution, the United Nations Security Council briefing by the chief prosecutor is coming, you are on indictment for crimes against humanity.
As it should.
Yes, there you are. They introduced the issue of Paul Biya and Amazonians. Let's see the clip where they... you want to make a comment? Yes.
We forgot about
yes, just a minute one. I'm looking at this story of the Ethiopian crisis and the need to hold people accountable. Then my only question here is, why should our own Africans, people with color, wait or take such advantages that they're only waiting not to offer solution when we are facing challenges, but they're only waiting to see that when we have a challenge, then they are struggling to front our people at ICC. Then why are we having the African Union with organs? I mean, with the AU organs like the human rights bit or the legal bit? Why can't African Union structure itself such that instead of our own people struggling to front people at the ICC, then we still get all the people accountable, responsible for whatever they do, but within our own boundaries? Why should we always be struggling to take our people out there? Number two, I tend to wonder why are our own people not struggling to offer a solution, find a way out when we are struggling, when our people are killing each other. Instead, they will keep quiet when we are fighting, when our people are hurting, only to run very fast to the ICC and advise them to come and take our own people. I feel like we are not doing it the right way. Instead, try and solve the problem. Then at the same time, use the organs of African Union, that is the legal organs of African Union, to hold people accountable for whatever they do. Because in this case, then it means these organs of African Union, the legal organs of African Union, are meaningless to be there. I yield.
I think you have a point there.
Yeah.
And the peace process without accountability is not peace at all. That's it. That's all in summary I can tell you. If there's no accountability on the Ethiopian issue, forget it. You can see what is happening in Sudan, very laughable, which we cannot repeat on our television. It was very, very laughable. I don't need to waste it.
It was sad.
Very sad.
Yeah.
Very sad.
And doctors on South Sudan, you see, they've avoided accountability. You see how they're going round, and you don't expect people to heal and move on. We either go the Rwandan way. We see the country truly healed, as much as they are struggling with other things. But Paul Kagame could be wrong on other fronts, but he has helped in stabilizing that country. And I think that process they went through, the Kashasha courts and all that, was able to truly, create a platform where the country was able to heal, and justice was seen to be done, and they've been reconciling with themselves, because this is an interstate conflict. So they have to find a way of healing and moving on and move on. Those hundreds of women who were raped, those hundreds of children who are now going to grow up without their father or mother because they were killed. You just don't expect these people to just be okay and just be happy because now the mediation process has happened and the country is at peace. That is a peace that is very dangerous. So for there to be a true healing and for Ethiopia to reconcile with itself, there must be accountability. The deaths that have happened, the suffering that has happened, somebody has to answer. Someone has to be responsible for that.
Exactly, Miriam. There are 5 agendas for any peaceful resolution of any conflict of sharpness, of the type of sharpness that it is, like the one of South Sudan. And those agendas are very well laid down for any mediation. And if you don't have an agenda number 5, which is usually accountability, which leads to healing and DDR, then you have not done anything at all. You rather claim it is a dead process. Thank you. So, ladies and gentlemen, that is the way we shall be chatting our topics.
Maybe you respond to
I have not finished.
Part of the question that Wanda there has raised about why are these Africans now going to those international institutions to try to take an African problem there. If that matter was left to African Union, what will happen really?
It cannot reach, it cannot see the light, Wanda.
Thank you.
It cannot see the light. Tell me which African president wants to choose another one?
In fact, AU is not sincere, because I was looking at the AU itself. Like today, President Kagame, the AU institutional reform, heads the AU institutional reforms process. Then he has gone ahead to appoint a Pan-African committee of experts that is supposed to review and submit several proposals for the proper governance of the African Union in order to solve the problems that are facing Africa. Then one of the problems that are facing Africa is the DRC Congo, where is party to it or it's probably directly involved in it. Therefore, I feel like AU cannot sort out such issues, and if the one who is in charge of seeing into it, that he appoints experts that are supposed to present proposals that will solve such challenges like the one that we are having in the DRC Congo, then we still have a long way to go as a continent.
Yes, we do, and we have a very long way to go. I remember President Uhuru Kenyatta paying $1 million. If you look for them for that money now, you might not even get half a dollar left in the account. It has been used, utilized, eaten, but there's no court standing. And the courts are working in ad hoc places, Arusha, Sijui where. So these are some of the obstacles that Africa has. And I think Africa will never stand on its own. It has problems, and those problems are purely ourselves, self-inflicted. We now go for more loans. We are not asking the undertones of those loans, those grants. Tomorrow they will come on our door and they come to inspect their projects and ask you, we gave you loans to give to everybody, but you singled out some people and you discriminated them. So we are going to come back to square one. We can't develop. Chinese, why people are preferring Chinese loans is they come and do what they do. They don't ask you what you do with the road. If you want to plant cows or you want to graze cows on the road using build dips on that same road, they don't want to know. All what they know is their money paid back, and that is all. Thank you very much, all of you. The bold step here that stands is how can we fight corruption in Africa? Can we fight it from the bottom or we fight it from the top? That is the bold step that Singapore took to fight it from the top, and it has succeeded. Up to today, Singapore is corruption-free country in the world. Thank you very much. Thank you, all of you in Nairobi. Thank you. God bless you. God bless Africa. Thank you.